to Think About It. I'm Sylvia Henderson, your host, and I invite you to tune in, take what you see and hear, and, well, think about it. So today I am talking to my guest who I actually also hired for my business some time ago. So I'm very knowledgeable about what she's going to talk about and how smart she is about strategy. So today we're going to talk about strategy, business strategy, and how things have changed from our whole COVID-19 experience. But we're not going to focus on COVID-19. We're focusing on moving forward and moving ahead and how we need to adjust, how those who have survived, how they have survived, and what we need to be doing moving forward as business owners or as business people. My guest's name, Rachel Pisani. Rachel, welcome to Think About It.
Thank you, Sylvia. Thanks for having me.
I'm thrilled. I'm excited about the conversation. Your company is Rachel Pisani Marketing, and you are a marketing strategist. So that's kind of what makes you smart about this stuff. Sort of real quickly or real shortly, how did you come? I ask my guests this all the time at the beginning. So what brought you to doing what you do? What makes you a marketing strategist?
You know, I actually did it for a number of companies as an employee, right? So I worked in marketing, I worked in sales and business development, but I started getting calls from friends and coworkers and CEOs actually in Montgomery County, Fairfax County, Loudoun County, born and raised in Virginia. So I'm on the other side of the bridge, but that's how I started. People started asking me to come in and help them strategize, and it just snowballed into a strategist.
Cool. And so you help, and so what do you do as a strategist? Who do you help primarily? You know, what do you do with them or for them?
Sure. I help a number of companies. So just like you, I worked with you on your business model, creating a strategic plan that says, how do I look at the next 12 months? How do I look at the next 18 months? But really put a strategy in place that you can work to, right? Look at your business, review your business, analyze it, and then say what works for you. Because what works for you is not always what works for the next person. And so whether it's a small company, a large company, I work with Fortune 500 companies, I work with nonprofits, I work with a lot of motivational speakers, I work with a lot of churches. So I work with a variety of different companies, from technology companies to nonprofits.
And I'm going to guess that even with such a wide range of clients, the essence, though, of what you do is, I'll say, the same in air quotes. In other words, you bring people through a process, and regardless of their size, whether it's a solo or whether it's a corporation, the process is still kind of the same. Is that?
Yeah, absolutely. You hit it right on the head. Any business has basic tools and steps that they can take, and they apply whether you're a nonprofit, whether you're a sole proprietor, whether you're an individual that's working on influencer or thought leader in the market. You still have some basics that are always the same. So from a strategic marketing perspective, your messaging, right? Is it consistent? Does it resonate with your audience? Is it something that is part of your core? When we sat down with you, Sylvia, we talked about your core, right? What really is, what makes up Sylvia? What is the passion? Why do you do what you do? Understanding that in any business, no matter what size, helps you to create a message or a brand that will resonate with your audience. The other thing that I think is key for companies and individuals, whenever you're talking about marketing strategies, it can be so ethereal. People go, oh, I spent thousands of dollars on SEO, or I spent thousands of dollars to do this podcast and I've got 6 listeners, right? So understanding what your audience wants and what avenue they want it in. Do you have an audience that listens to podcasts, or do you have an audience that watches YouTube videos, right? What are those demographics? What do they like? What do they prefer? And then meet those needs. So actually fine tune your messaging and your platforms that you use to reach the right audience. That's the same across the board, no matter whether you're a consumer goods or a consumer products company or whether you're a church.
When I hear strategy, and when I hear people say they do strategy, help you do strategy, I typically think of that, the strategic plan and that strategy book that's, an inch or two thick, and you spend thousands of dollars on creating strategy, and that thick book goes up on a shelf and kind of doesn't get looked at anymore. What impressed me and what I loved about what you did with us is not only, well, it wasn't that thick book, number one, but also, I mean, you break it down to 3 times a week. You want to do this, and you want to take this and do something else with it. And I mean, you got really specific.
Yeah, so when you're looking for anything in life, right? Let's talk about the individual. Say you don't own a business. Anything in life, if you want to accomplish something, you have to, number one, write it down, make it plain, be specific, and then actually put steps to get you to that target, steps to get to that achievement or that goal. If you want to lose weight, right? I wanted to lose 20 pounds. Actually, I need to lose 60 pounds, right? But that's not going to happen unless I actually take steps or take actions to match up to what I wish or what I want, right? So it's in life and it's in business. So if we do a strategy and we come in and you've assessed a business or you've assessed your goals in life, and you put it all together and you've got a 2-inch binder without practical steps, without timelines, without frequencies. What I believe is this is how it works for me. We set a goal, so we understand your passion, understand your core values. You can't create anything in life unless you're creating it from your core value system. It will not be successful. So you can pretend to be something or you can take on someone else's cause, but until it hits home, it doesn't work. Start with your core values. What's your passion? Then you have your goals. Take your goals, break those goals down into initiatives. So are those initiatives going to help you reach those goals? Each one of those initiatives, for instance, you're doing a podcast right now, right? That's an initiative that helps you reach a greater goal. Your goal is not just to have a podcast, right? Your goal is to get your message out there to more people, to impact them and help them do better in life and in business and succeed. So a podcast is actually an initiative that gets you to that. Now there are tasks within that initiative that you have to drill down into. So you set your goals, you get your initiatives, then you drill down to your tasks. After you've identified the tasks that are associated with completing that initiative, you have to look at your resources and tools. And this COVID-19, I know the second part of this, we'll talk about it, but following COVID-19, it's essential that you really stop and look at your tools and your resources, because things are different today than they were 2 months ago. I have 80% of the people that are doing Zoom meetings right now never did a Zoom meeting before March 15th, right? I mean, that's reality. So now we've got people that have had to learn a whole new technology that never knew how to do it. And they're realizing, hey, this is effective. I can do this. So we've got symphony orchestras that are putting people up in their homes, and you've got 20 different people on a Zoom call playing instruments together, right? That's amazing. That's technology. It's a tool that they're using to help them reach their goal. So you have to drill it down, and the only way you're going to have a marketing strategy that succeeds is if you go down to that detailed level and give people bite-sized pieces that they can actually tangibly take and do.
So you already started to answer what I was going to ask next, so that's good.
Sorry.
So I was thinking, because I'm thinking we've now been through and the whole shock of the whole COVID-19 experience. So no matter when somebody's watching this program, and they may be watching it 2 years from now, I'll just say there's always going to be something that sort of is a upset or a change or needed to be done or a catastrophe, whether it's global or
Right.
local. So that the focusing on the core, then does that does that really change, or do we keep our core and kind of put aside what we were planning on a month ago, but keep the core and move forward with that?
So I use the analogy of football. I've got a 9-year-old son, LJ, loves football, loves basketball, great basketball player, great football player, just incredible kid, right? I watch his games and I look at how these 9-year-olds are taking the ball and they do a little pivot, and all of a sudden you see the entire game change, right? From a little pivot. I watch him play basketball. He can be going down one way, somebody tries to block him. He does a little pivot with his foot, changes the whole outcome of the game. In business and in life, right? This isn't just about business. These principles apply to everything in life. Sometimes you have to take a little pivot. You've got to tweak something. You've got to change something. So you pivot and then you keep going towards your goal. The core goal of the core of people never change. I'm a firm believer. You can change behaviors, but you can't change the core of a person. You can't change that passion that lights them up. When you were a kid, right? If you liked performing, that doesn't change your intensity inside. We may squelch it, we may push it back down because we have to fit into this corporate world, or we have to go down and make money in another path, we think. But when you really keep that core value system, your goals don't change maybe, but the way that you get there may have to change due to, I mean, look, we're dealing with racism, we're dealing with COVID-19. There's a lot of mindset changes that have to take place. It doesn't change our core, right? I'm learning to say things a different way because I realize how that's affecting people. Or I'm learning to do things a different way because I realize the pain that might cause someone else. It doesn't mean that my core changed. It just means I learned to do it differently. And so starting with our mindsets have to pivot slightly or tweak or change slightly. So yes, you may have to change your marketing strategy, how you get to that goal, but your core goal, your core being doesn't change, in my opinion. That's my opinion.
And I think we're seeing that, and I will not go political.
Right?
I think we're seeing that, though, even in, I think in the last few years. I mean, the world, we hear how, wow, I thought the world was one way, but it doesn't seem to be. And I've always thought, I think the world has been the world, however way you want to interpret that, all along. We're just, like you were talking about, some suppress who they are and now come out, and others were vocal and now they're suppressed. And so
Yep.
I think
Yep.
I see that even on a global scale, how the core doesn't
It
change.
does. It
Yeah.
doesn't change. And if you look at businesses today, right? I went through the Chick-fil-A drive-through the other day. They've got a big sign, chicken parmesan family meal to go. Chick-fil-A realized, hey, we've got all these people that are at home. They need more than chicken nuggets, right? So let's give them chicken parmesan. They didn't change their business, but they changed their strategy. They changed their communication. Nike changed their advertising throughout the last couple of months. They're talking about play it anywhere, do it all over the world, right? From your home, do it inside, right? So they're changing their messaging, saying, hey, you can still be an athlete. You can still do this, right? You just have to change your perspective.
Is that how those who are surviving are now thinking through or are changing their messaging? Because marketing is messaging. I
Yeah,
mean,
absolutely. So you've got some salons that have closed down. They couldn't make it 8, 10, 12 weeks, right? You've got some restaurants that shut their doors for good. They've been in business for years and all of a sudden they can't survive. I just went, I'm in Ocean City right now. just went to a restaurant the other night. You can't eat inside of a restaurant, but you can do outside restaurant seating if it's within a certain amount of feet apart. They took their parking lot, they set up tables and umbrellas, and they took a fine dining restaurant and created it into a parking lot, right? They're killing it. The place had a waiting line 6 feet apart, but they had a waiting line, right, to get into their parking lot. They didn't do a massive change. The other thing that I think is key, Sylvia, and I don't think business owners or corporations think about it, a lot of time, even parents, we say, okay, we're going to do this. This is where our family's going, right? And we don't even ask our employees. We don't ask our children. We don't ask our spouses or what, your significant others. We just set a goal or a place and we say, that's where we're headed. That's our destination. What I found, even with the little restaurant that I went to the other night, their employees bought into that vision. Their employees said, hey, we're going to have to change some things. We're going to be running food outside instead of inside. But guess what? I like what I do. I want to keep my job. So I'm going to be flexible and I'm going to work with the owners to make this happen. So it may be a little more extra work on them. They've got to set up tables or set up umbrellas, but they're willing to do the sacrifice because they see the greater goal. They want to keep their job. They want to bring that income in. So you've got to be flexible, and the people that are on your team have to be flexible as well. They've got to buy into that vision.
Cool. We need to take a quick break, and when we come back, I want to address a little bit more specifics, like the how-to or what have you experienced a little bit more specifically. So,
sure.
So I know time flies fast with these interviews. So with that, we'll be right back.
Coronavirus is a contagious respiratory disease, and new cases are being identified every day. Here are some ways to stop the spread of germs and help keep yourself and your community safe. Stay home when you are sick. Cover your cough or sneeze with a tissue. If you don't have a tissue, cough or sneeze into your upper sleeve. Dispose of tissues after use. Wash your hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. Avoid touching your face, especially with unwashed hands. Practice social distancing. Only go into public spaces when you absolutely need to. Stay connected with family and friends by cell phone and social media, especially seniors and those at greater risk of catching the virus. Visit montgomerycountymd.gov/coronavirus for the latest information and tips to avoid transmitting the virus and help keep your community safe and healthy.
Hello, and welcome back to Think About It. I am still Sylvia Henderson, your host, and my guest is still Rachel Pisani, so we haven't gone anywhere. We're still talking about marketing strategy and kind of even more than that, with pivoting and moving forward beyond the whole, I guess it's moving forward that way, beyond the whole COVID-19 experience that we've experienced to still be here, to still be thriving and still be whole the end of this year and years ahead. So I want to get more into specifics for this part of our conversation. And Rachel, you've been working with clients on, you've got clients that are surviving and thriving even through a time of change, we'll say. So what makes a company or even people survive and thrive when others aren't?
I would say the number one key is communication. Second to mindset, or vice versa. Maybe they're equal. Your mindset has to be a mindset. Okay, you can think of how many people can you think that, were deserted on a boat in the water for days and they survived, or they were on the side of a mountain and they had a skiing accident and they survived miraculously, right? One thing that they all had in common was they wanted to survive. They had a will to survive. Their mindset would not accept anything less. So I think your mindset has to be one of, there's no other option. There's no plan B for closing down. And honestly, I think some of the businesses that have closed over the last few months have closed because they never really wanted to be in that business. They never really, that wasn't really their passion. Now, Some incurred a snowball of events, right? You had 7 or 8 different life events that hit at once, and they couldn't survive, right? For whatever reason that is. But when your mindset is there and you refuse to accept no, when you refuse to accept failure, you find a way to survive. Maybe your business looks different coming out of COVID-19, right? Maybe you had to pivot and start doing things that you weren't doing in the past, right? Some of the automotive companies now, right? They started doing things that they weren't doing before. If you look at the businesses that are surviving, mindset and then communication, I think, are the 2 key factors in that happening. When I say communication, I don't just mean communication to the executive team or even just communication to your clients. I mean communication from all points of view. Communication to your clients, communication with your employees, communication with your executive team, with your board of directors, communication with your shareholders, whatever that may be. Communication is key. I have a client in Detroit, and this hit, they were launching a brand new organization. They were launching it on March 15th. The day that they announced, and it was, they have large gatherings. So the day that this was announced, we said, what do we do? Do we cancel the launch? Do we not do it? Do we postpone it? So we had to tweak it. Instead of doing 1 event, we did 3 with smaller groups. The same day, the same amount, right? Within 24 hours, this is a client that actually thinks forward. And this is the difference in surviving versus thriving. When you're just thinking about how am I going to survive, you see the water behind me. I can tread water and I'm going to get really worn out at some point, and I'm not going to be able to tread that water anymore. But if I see a destination and I actually swim to that destination, I can actually get there. I can make it. Treading water is no fun. Nobody just says, hey, I want to go to the ocean and tread water. No, you want to jump the waves. You want to dive. You want to swim. You want to go to the island. You want to do whatever. You don't want to just tread water. Why would we do that in our business? Why would we do that in life, right? Why would we sit passively by and go, okay, I'm just going to keep struggling. Because when you're struggling to survive, you can't thrive. You can't even step back, right? We talk about Zoom meetings. We need to zoom out and look at our life, look at our business, look at our passion, look at our goals, reevaluate that and say, how do I get there now? Let's not look at the past. Let's not dwell on everything's so negative, everything's this, everything's that. Let's look at the future and think positively and then make the necessary changes. You can live in reality. The reality is not always pretty, but you can change your future. You might not be able to change today, but you can change what happens tomorrow.
So the logical question or add on to that is, but how? So many of us, or I think so many people we've got our bubble of, oh my gosh, something's happening. And again, this is not just from COVID-19, but this
Absolutely.
is from any big thing that happens, is that bubble. So how do I I know you said you had a couple of tips. I don't know if they're related to this.
Sure.
How do I get out of this bubble to make that pivot? Because change is hard, as they always say. And not only me, but now if I'm a business owner, I've got other people I've got to deal with and help. So kind of how to deal with all that.
Well, your analogy, when you go like this, that's our bubble right there, our head. You got to get out of your head. You got to change your mindset. Fear, right now, our employees, our vendors, our corporations, our board of directors, our stockholders, shareholders, people are fearful. If we can take the fear out of our mindsets, we can actually progress. We're afraid of jumping off the cliff into the water, right? Once you do it and you've survived and you're like, whoa, that was totally fun. I'm going to do that again, right? The fear's gone. You're afraid of getting on that roller coaster. When you alleviate the fear, you alleviate the paralysis that comes with fear. Fear is a tactic that comes into our mind, and it's used to paralyze us. If you're afraid you're not going to make a decision, if you're afraid you're not going to do it, if you're afraid you're going to go backwards, if you're afraid you're going to be timid, if you're afraid, you can't move forward. The fear of the unknown is one of the most paralyzing emotions you can have. So if we can, number one, take control of our emotions, whether it's fear, anxiety, depression, the hopes or the failures that we may have experienced in the last couple of months, take that out. Number two, look outside of your industry. Don't just look at your competitors and what they're doing. Look at what other industries are doing and see how they're doing it and how they're succeeding. You can learn a lot. I have a church that's a client. Instead of being able to have services, they can't have 1,000 people in their auditorium right now, right? But you know what they can do? They can have Red Cross blood banks happening all across their parking lot. So they can have Red Cross come in and actually be donating blood. They're using their facility for a different purpose. It's still their ultimate goal, which is what? Helping and seeing people helped and cared for and loved on and feel appreciated, right? They're just doing it in a different way. So think outside your own industry and see how people are doing it, how they're making it different. You may be surprised at the ideas that you get. The third thing that I would suggest is take action. And this is what's frustrating to me with other marketing strategists, right? Or other people that you may see come in and create a marketing strategy. I hear it from clients every single day. Oh, I've done 3 marketing strategies. I've done 2 marketing strategies. I've had 5 different people come in and give me ideas. Anyone can give you an idea, right? You have to take action on it. Like I said about losing weight, I can have the best personal trainer in the world tell me what I need to do. I can write it down. I can make it specific. But until I take action, I am not going to lose weight. So you have to take action to move forward in anything in life. And it's hard, until you deal with that first, until you deal with that mindset, until you deal with the fear or the anxiety or the depression or the unworthiness or stepping out. There are a lot of people that have lost their jobs. We haven't even talked about people that have lost their jobs over the last couple of months. It's devastating. For so many of your viewers, now they're realizing, hey, my livelihood was in someone else's hands, totally, completely. I am at the mercy of someone else giving me a paycheck. Now is the time to take action. If you've had a dream, if you've had a passion, if you're looking to do something different, what is your show about? Think about it. You teach this in your mastermind classes, right? You teach people how to take action, because without taking action, they're never going to go anywhere.
And something you said about people who've lost their jobs. So many people's identities, their selves,
so true,
were tied to what they did or tied to the company they worked for or whatever. And so not only have jobs been lost, but also themselves have been lost. If that
absolutely, an analogy. My mother, her identity had a lot to do with who my father was. And I saw when my father retired, her position changed. And she had to realize that her worth and her identity, and it's not saying my mother's not a weak person at all, right? My mother in her own right was a strong, amazing, and incredibly impactful female. But so much of herself was wrapped around my father and what he did. And same with us with our careers. We even look at it as a status. When someone meets you for the first time, they say, hey, how are you doing? And, oh, what do you do for a living? Right? What I do for a living doesn't tell you anything about really who I am, right? Unless what I do for a living is my passion. So if I'm a programmer or if I'm, a cybersecurity specialist, that doesn't tell you who I am. So I think especially now, like 9/11. 9/11 changed our world forever. It changed the way we looked at people. we will never go back to pre 9/11 mindsets, I don't think. I don't think that we'll do business the same way after COVID. I think COVID, you can either say, hey, it changed everything and I don't know what to do now and this is a disaster, or you can say, wow, within every crisis, there's an opportunity. So you don't have to leverage it, you don't have to use it, but you have to realize that within every challenge, within every crisis, there's some kind of opportunity, and you have the power to choose how you're going to use that.
Wow. I think that is like a powerful coming to the end of the show statement. I'm not sure what more to add to that. As I do with everybody, you have a chance to shamelessly self-promote yourself for a few seconds there. So how do people reach you?
Sure. They can email me. It's Rachel at rachelpisanimarketing.com. They can email me, or they can go to my website, Rachel Pisani Marketing. Actually, I think I even have rachelpisani.com now, so you can do that too. But really, my passion is to see others thrive. I got so much enjoyment of watching your eyes light up, right? I mean, after a whole day, you're like, whoa, Rachel, like you got to take a break, right? Because you invigorated me. You inspired me. My clients inspire me. I see them doing things and impacting people's lives and creating greatness in a world that desperately needs greatness right now, right? We need that. And if I can be a small part of that, if I can help inspire someone, or if I can help give someone those tools or strategies that can help them reach their goals, that's what my passion is.
Awesome. Awesome. So Rachel, thank you very much for being my guest. And I think that, that wraps up our show for today. So
Thank you.
Oh, definitely. So to my viewers, I hope you enjoyed this show. I hope you got something out of it. I don't know whether you enjoyed it or not. Hope you got some tips out of it for moving forward, for moving ahead. I'll figure out the weatherman motions one of these days for moving ahead. And as always, tune in, take what you see and hear, and, well, think about it. I'm Sylvia Henderson, and make a great day.